To lift the ceramic glass to expose the elements, you have 3 screws. Usually they are on right by the edge of the glass in the front, and they can actually be covered with old grease. Usually they are Phillips screws, so just clean them a little bit if you feel the screwdriver doesn't go in. And once you remove the screws, you notice at the rear of the glass, a little bit higher, there is two metal tabs. You need to pull the glass a little bit forward, 1 inch forward, to free those two rear tabs. And only then you can actually rotate and lift the glass. So if you feel it doesn't lift, it doesn't rotate properly, just move it a little bit forward. You can disengage completely those tabs, but be careful because there are wires. Don't pull on it too much. Cover all this area with a large blanket so you don't lose anything in there. Stoves are dirty with ugly grease, so make sure you use a jacket that you really don't care about it. The two attaching screws for the rod are very easy to lose. Each element is secured with 2 metal pins with a small hook. Actually, you don't need a pliers, just use a fingertip, toss the pin to the left, then push it back to free the hook. Mark the holes for the pins, very important. Try to replace only one element at a time and disconnect the rod only on the side of the element. Do not detach the rod on both sides. It's very important to unplug these connectors one by one. So you unplug one from the old unit and you plug it right away into the new unit. Then you grab the second one from the old unit, plug it into the new unit, and so on. There's 4 of them. Why? Because at least on my stove, the wires, there were colors identical colors on one side, identical colors on the other side. If you unplug both of them, you will not know which wire goes where because the colors is perfectly the same. Even if you take a picture like they say on YouTube, is not going to work. You are going to have a little problem. This is the first type of connector. If you look behind, underneath the connector, at the bottom of it, you will find this tiny tab. You need to depress it with your fingernail and it should come out very easily. If you don't depress it, you will break this connector. There is a second type of connector. You need to grab it and wiggle with the pliers while pulling on it with some force. Keep the element from moving at this point. You will need to remove from the old element these 2 attachment clips, metal ones, and each sits at a very specific number. So be sure to mark on the old element the number. Put a marker or something so you don't forget. And these numbers are different on the left and right, rear or front elements, but the elements are the same. It's just these brackets that attach at a different place. Remember to use some marker, to have handy some marker. Sometimes this, look at the letters, numbers here, you may confuse them 6 with 9, but remember to mark the position when those clips go in there and do not tighten them too much. When you insert these black pins, always keep the element with your hand. Do not push against the glass because you can break the ceramic glass. Once you insert the 2 pins, squeeze the element against the rod with your hand to crush a little bit that spring, because if it's too stiff, you will see that when you want to place the rod back in place, like here, it has too much gap and the element will force too much against the glass and that can break the glass. So make sure you don't force too much on the glass. Once everything is back in place, squeeze the element with your hand, depress the spring a little bit and make sure the element does not force too much against the glass. You can also measure the resistance. You have 2 contacts on this. These are the rear elements. So there's 2 contacts here. Just touch them. You don't even need to remove these things. And put your meter on ohm and perhaps use the lower scale, 200 ohm. You should see something like 50, 30, 40, 50, depends. And actually the problem is right there. It's you have this element, this coil if you want, and it's welded to the input here. And this welds here on this one, it's still good. You can see I cannot move it. On this one, it's gone. Actually, it's even breaking in pieces. It's right there in between that small rod and the coil itself. It just breaks in there and the coils breaks away. Sometimes it's intermittent. Basically, you will see it working at the moment, not working at another moment, because it's already broken, but it's still touching slightly. And also, I don't think you can weld them back in place. Even if you put them to touch each other a little bit, it's not going to work. You will turn it on, it will stay on for a few seconds, and it's going to burn that connection, burn that coil.